Hey friends, it's me, Carl. I am here in Ogden. I just pulled up to the Eccles Avenue Historic District, and I'm going to go explore a little bit. I have my iPad because they have a handy self-guided tour. I did cruise through and noticed that many of the homes have a plaque in front of them that you can read, but some of them are uncomfortably close to the house. So I'm going to take my iPad and I will read about it as I go. Right, I just read the plaque for the first place that I pulled up to, which is also the first place on the self-guided tour, and it looks like the writing on the self-guided tour just matches what's on the plaque. This one had a plaque that was not weirdly close to the house. So I'm just gonna walk around and check it out. So a historic district, and what makes it different than a historic site, is an area that kind of exemplifies a certain style or features very prominently a particular architect, or it's a general area where important things happened. So here in the Eccles Historic District, it was kind of a planned neighborhood, and the Eccles, of course, are very prominent in Utah and throughout the West. And many of them lived here in this block, as well as many other historic figures in Utah history. Right, I still feel a little bit weird about just videoing people's houses, so I'm probably not going to show a whole lot of these. But just to give you a general idea of how this neighborhood feels, there's a little park right in the center of the road. It's a beautiful garden here. I'm sure it's lots of work to keep that up, but it's only fitting that a house like this has a garden like this. Although it is kind of spilling out onto the sidewalk. This is the house of Marriner Eccles. And although the David Eccles family as a whole is very important and very influential, I think one of the best stories to come out of this neighborhood is that of Marriner Eccles, one of the governors of the board of the Federal Reserve. I think you could credit him quite a bit for getting the United States out of the Great Depression in the 1930s. A lot of these homes were designed by Eber Pierce, who was a student of Lloyd Wright, the famous architect. So many of the houses in this area have a kind of prairie-style feel to them, which Lloyd Wright was very famous for. None of them are exactly like copies of his work, but definitely inspired by him. You can see this curved road and the curved sidewalk kind of slows down traffic and separates this block into its own kind of neighborhood. And it definitely has a distinct feel compared to the rest of Ogden. This is my favorite house. And you can see right in front is the plaque in sort of an uncomfortable place, because you have to walk practically up to the porch to read it. But I have the tour on my iPad, so it's perfect. Some of the homes have this newer National Register of Historic Places plaque in front, and others have just an Ogden City plaque. This district also encompasses part of the block across the streets to the east and west. So one of the things that I wanted to do while I was here is kind of get a feel for the spirit of this place. A historic district should be more than just old houses, and it should feel a certain way. And this definitely feels historic. And some of the stories that have happened here over the years are certainly important to the history of Utah. My overall impression of this historic district is that it feels really nice. The homes are well cared for. The landscape is well cared for. You can tell these people are proud and respectful of the history that they've been entrusted with by purchasing these homes. I think Ogden City in general seems to do a really good job with historic preservation. I haven't looked at what their laws are, but they have quite a few historic districts. In fact, this one, the Eccles Avenue Historic District, is a historic district within a larger historic district. So as I was driving here, I was just noticing all of the historic buildings and all of the older homes that are so well cared for. And it feels great. It feels like a nice place to be. And you know what? I even walked by a couple of people while I was filming and didn't feel weird about it. So this really just feels like a welcoming neighborhood, even if you're here doing weird stuff like making a YouTube video. All right, so I'm ready to take off. My final thoughts, I just wanted to rate the walking tour. That was probably an 8 out of 10. If it was a little bit more interactive, maybe with text different than what's on the signs outside of each home, it could easily be a 10 out of 10, but it's very well done. It's one of the better ones that I've seen since I've started doing these reviews and since I started doing this channel. It uses Esri's story maps, which is part of ArcGIS. You may have heard of that. And it's just really a fantastic software, and it works great. It looks great on my iPad. It looked great on my phone earlier. It looked great on my laptop. It's just fantastic, and it is free or very cheap, depending on what you want to do. I've made some free ones myself, and there are options that are very affordable, and I bet just about every city, probably every county, definitely the state of Utah has access to ArcGIS and has a professional grade license to be able to make these kinds of tours. So I don't think there's an excuse for any town to have a mediocre historic walking tour. But obviously we have some.